Hey, good evening, everybody out there in our empath world, our healing world. This is Gloria Coppola, and for those of you that don't know me, I am the founder of the empath community and Powerful Potential and Purpose. And we are here tonight with a special guest. And as you know, I love getting all of our different healing arts practitioners, our light workers, our spiritual ministers, and heart centered entrepreneurs on here with an opportunity to talk about different things that affect all of us, okay, and to give tips to you so that you also can grow along with us. So feel free to, introduce yourself when you come on, say hello, tell us where you're from. And if you have questions, by all means, post a question down below, because our special guest, Jen Cairo, or myself will come back in and be sure to answer you later. So I am an author, a publisher. I am a soul purpose wisdom sage, or coach, as some people call it. And I've been helping people for over 4 decades in the healing arts, from teaching and educating and doing retreats and finding your soul purpose. And that's the thing that I love the most. I also have a background in the healing arts. So the things that Jen and I are going to talk about tonight resonate with me as well, because we have a lot of things in common. Jen Cairo is an intuitive. Well, aren't you? You're here in our empath community and out there in our fan page. So she's also a Reiki master. And for those of you that don't know what Reiki is, it's an energy type of work. They call it universal life force energy, where we can do it from the distance, or we could do it hands-on or hands-off. She's a medium, which means she connects with the spirit world and has messages from your loved ones who passed on. And she's a soon-to-be author. She is one of our special authors in The Path of Awakening, coming out soon, with a story about being an empath as a child and not really knowing why she felt so different. So be sure to catch her story, because it's a powerful one. So Jen, I want to welcome you here tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this tonight. And thanks for the great introduction. Yes, I'm excited to be an author. I can't wait to see this book in print. I'm excited, and it's going to be a great book. A lot of amazing stories in there.
It's such a wonderful collaboration. And Jen, like even your topic tonight, about time for inner compassion and self-care, I found it so interesting that the title of the book, The Path of Awakening, came to me prior to all this stuff happening in our world. Yeah. And then the type of a healing journey. And here we are tonight, actually going to help support our listeners on their own healing journey, their own awakening during these times that are very stressful. Yeah. So I know that, it's a topic that is near and dear to you, because you also work with a lot of people and you want to help them also during these stressful times. Mm-hmm. So let's start with you, Jen. What are you doing for self-care?
Well, I think the most important thing to do, in stressful times, is to make sure you're eating well and getting enough sleep, because people tend to worry and stare at the ceiling at night. You really have to get enough sleep and eat well. But, meditating, connecting, keeping yourself grounded, and journaling your feelings and your fears and your worries, getting your thoughts on paper. That's something that I do all the time. And, distracting yourself, reading, taking the opportunity to learn something new, work on your creative gifts, or your, I started playing guitar, so that's been, something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and now have the time to do it. And
I'd like to talk about something you just brought up, though.
Sure.
You mentioned a lot of things, and if we can kind of break them down, I think we'll be able to help our listeners too. I know in the empath group here, and some people are very new at, delving into the gifts, and others, we've been doing it for, a long time. One of the things that I see people ask a lot is how to ground. What is grounding? And you brought that up as one of the things for self-care. Now, right. You and I know how to do it, but what tips would you give our listeners on ways that you ground that are very helpful?
Well, I think meditating is very grounding. When somebody's not grounding, their mind is, out, and, it's the anxiety, that's how I consider, when I need to ground myself, when my anxiety takes over, so by meditating and connecting your mind, body, and spirit as one again, and bringing yourself into the now, and meditating, journaling, and that, those are things that help me stay and get myself grounded.
So I know a question that has come to me a lot of times in life is I can't meditate,
Yeah.
because people think it's got to be this higher transcendental meditation.
Mm-mm.
And really a walk in nature or sitting quiet can be a meditative place. So what I know when you first got involved in this, because you talk about it in your story too, you went to a circle where they did a meditation. So maybe from that standpoint of someone who's never done it before, what can you share with our listeners that you actually remember doing in that community of
Well,
meditation?
the conscious breathing. I mean, just breathing can, the controlled breathing. The inhale in, hold it for 5 or 10 seconds and release. By controlling your breathing, you're getting in control of yourself, and that instantly slows down your heart rate, and really brings that anxiety, anxious feeling that you may have, and that's really, anybody can do that. And, people, I think, oftentimes get intimidated by meditation because they feel like they have to go to this higher plane, but you don't. Like you said, you can take a walk. You could just sit in silence for 5 minutes. And, but yeah, when you go to a formal meditation, that's what it is. It's, 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 it's a guided meditation with breathing exercises,
Can you
and
give a demonstration?
a demonstration.
Yeah, do a quick demonstration. It doesn't have to be a whole meditation.
You know, you would, usually the meditations that I do are from your chakras. You pull the white light in through your crown chakra, and you go to your third eye chakra, down to your throat, and you go all the way down to your root chakra, and then you ground yourself, and then you come back up.
So can I ask you a question, even though I know what it is? What
Sure.
is it for those that don't know that are listening?
What is
And
what?
where are they?
Where's what?
The chakras. Because
Well, there's 7 main chakras. You
what's
have
that?
there's 7 main chakras, as you know, and they all work with a main energy center. So, your root chakra being down at your base of your spine, is your grounding. And then you go up to your sacral, you have your heart chakra, your throat chakra, um, your third eye, and your crown. And, each one represents a different, you know, energy force that comes alive in you.
So when we're grounding, we're going to go into our root chakra, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And for those of you listening, there's a little bit of delay if you're noticing that with the internet. She's, her sometimes it's lagging behind. Just hang with us, okay? We're going to keep going. And I'm just going to have Jen break some things down because I know some of you are new to this, all right? So you might be saying, well, how do I meditate? And what is a chakra? And how do I ground? And I know that sometimes those of us that have been doing it for a while, we communicate this way, but we don't realize you listening might be new at this, right? Or even if you've been doing it, you might get a new tip. So I know that some people like to use even crystals for grounding. Do you have a favorite crystal that you use to ground?
Um, I Quartz is my go-to. Quartz is my, anxiety crystal, my grounding crystal. I use it in Reiki. Um, I think that's it's a good everything crystal. It's good for, it has a lot of health aspects.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to use to meditate. You can hold it in your hand. You could sleep with it under your pillow. It's good for dreams.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's good for dreams. Here's my favorite. Have you ever used hematite to ground you?
I do have a piece of that, but that's something that no, I don't really use that.
Okay. I know that's a common one that people do use as well in the courts for all the great things that you've mentioned. So
Yeah.
if you're there listening or coming on the replay, hit pound replay and let us know what some of the ways are that you ground. I know for me, Jen, and I was not an earth-based person years ago in the sense of getting my hands dirty in the dirt. And I
Right,
was training with a woman, Anna Day Judith, who wrote The Sevenfold Journey and lots of books, Eastern Body, Western Mind, and she teaches all about chakras. And we did a 3-month intensive, and she came in one day, Jen, with a pot, to put flowers in and
right.
dirt, everything. And she gave it to me and said, "Here, go get your hands dirty." And I'm like, "Where's the gloves?" But I have since learned to appreciate grounding with the earth to the point where now, even my feet, I'll go barefoot, like in the grass, or take hikes, with no shoes on. And it really does. It connects me with Mother Earth. I know you've got a nature connection. You talk about that in your story.
Well, the beach is my nature connection. I do like the woods, and when I can't get to the beach, like we've been, doing a lot of walking, around here because we're surrounded by woods. But the beach is my connection. The ocean, the sand, um, the tides going in and out. That's where I come alive. That's my get my hands dirty. I'll sit right down in the sand, and I could sit there for hours. And that's, I talk about it in my story too. A great place for meditation for me. And, I don't care what's going on in my world. The minute I smell that salt air, it brings me instant peace.
Cool. Hey there, Mary. So we got some people popping on, and tonight we're talking about the time for compassion for you with all the stresses going on with the coronavirus, and a lot of us highly sensitive beings picking up on all the things from the people that are stressed, that are anxious. And Jen here is our special guest, and she's been talking about things that can help you with self-care. So if you have a question, drop it down below. So Jen, earlier we were talking about some other things, but some people are just joining us. So I want to go back to when you talked about journaling. For
Right.
some people, they say, "Oh, I can't write." How do you go and journal?
Journaling is just getting whatever's in your head. It doesn't have to make sense. Journaling can even be a sketch. You know, Journaling is whatever comes to your mind. It's not a story or, put together words. It's just, whatever you might be fearful of at the moment, whatever you might be worried about, whatever you might need to get off of your chest that you don't, have somebody to talk to. You can just put it down on paper. It doesn't have to make sense, and nobody ever has to see it. But it's just a way to express yourself and bring yourself back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we briefly talked about eating healthy, but we didn't mention anything about that. And I know for myself, you know, I definitely don't do processed foods because it's just loaded with a lot of chemicals and things that you don't really need. Okay. And I'm more of a plant-based person. So what are some of the healthy eating habits that you can suggest to people that's going to keep them in a better place, build their immune system, and just feel generally all around healthier?
Well, you're the expert on this, aren't you, Gloria, with all your healthy recipes that you post. But I just believe that 3 meals a day, not starving yourself, eating as many dark greens, vitamin rich foods, staying away from the sugars, the white sugar especially. Um, I mean, of course, not taking things away from yourself. You have to give yourself something, especially, when you can't leave the house and you can't really do what you want. You have to treat yourself. But, 3 meals a day, you know, vitamin rich food. And I am a big supplement person. I take a lot of supplements to support my immune system, lysine, monolaurin, vitamin C, vitamin D, especially when the virus is around, something to support your immune system in that way too. And drinking lots of water, lemon water,
Absolutely.
hot liquids, tea with
Absolutely.
but yeah, so just try your best with putting together healthy meals and making sure that everybody is eating well.
And during these times, especially highly sensitive beings, I know there's been some discussions even in our groups about people feeling extra stressed or extra anxious and getting more emotional and even depressed. And this is a time, Jen, right, for that inner compassion, that nurturing of self. So let's talk about that. Let's see if people want to engage out there too. I see some of you out there. How are you guys and gals feeling? All right. Are you having any of these kind of things coming up since you're tuning into all this kind of chaos out there? So
Mhm.
Jen, so you brought up, the anxiousness and the depression and all.
Right.
What would you like to add to the community about that?
Well, I think it's important to share your feelings, empaths tend to close off and not talk and take it all and hold it all. But it's important to reach out to friends and family and, don't keep those emotions inside. And it's okay to be the one that needs to talk for a change and not just the listener, as empaths tend to do a lot, actually. And
Yeah.
get dressed every day. Keep a normal routine. Um, eating well, and be honest with yourself. If you're feeling tired or worn out or anxious, acknowledge those feelings and, take care of them.
Absolutely. It's like the other day when I put the different hearts, to have everybody express, because like you say, sometimes we don't verbalize it, but it was the green heart, the yellow heart, the orange. Am I
Right.
okay? I'm doing great. I'm struggling. And we've created this community for all of you to have a safe place to be able to get support and inspiration. And right now, because there is, much more anxiety, maybe not just for you, but maybe the people around you, right? Right, Jen? I find
Yeah.
some people like really high strung.
Yeah, people get high strung, and that just makes you want to run and hide, but you can't do that. You have to, somebody's commenting, I don't know if that's you, Gloria, but don't
It's
isolate.
no, somebody wrote, don't isolate, try to talk to at least one person every day.
That's great advice. And, make sure you're keeping in contact with your family. Just because you can't see, I mean, FaceTime, thank God for technology, Zoom, FaceTime, people are having Zoom birthday parties. You have to reach out to people and you have to keep communicating with people and try to keep your routine as normal as possible. By getting up, getting dressed, eating regular meals, doing schedule time for exercise. Your gym might be closed, but most gyms are doing virtual. You can get up and do a yoga class, but just trying to keep your routine, um, as normal as possible through these times.
And for me, this way of living is not really that much different for me, but it is for a lot of other people,
Mhm. Yeah.
And I have, for the last 20 years, actually created a very Zen type of lifestyle. So for me to be away from everybody and stuff, it's not new, and I don't get anxious about it. But some of I just moved in with my cousin, and it is new for her in some ways, And she's also works in medical. And for those of you that are out there in the medical field, bless you all. Let's all send them some hearts and love and thanks, because like today they finally got a mask, one mask that they have to wear all day long, but psychologically and emotionally it calmed her down.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're finding, the people around us, we need to bring some more compassion to them as well.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, she says, if you live with someone, one good hug a day. Said that to my friend, and she said she hadn't hugged her husband since they've been home. And I'm going to be honest, I miss hugs. I miss them. You are very welcome. I know that you're out there doing your medical, your nursing and all. So thank you for being out there. And anybody that is helping people in any way, tapping into being more compassionate. Jen, we kind of talked a little bit before we got on live about this being actually a great awakening and a time for people to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing happen like in your community and family now that people have time?
Well, I think, people are, helping each other from a distance. Like in my neighborhood, there's a lot of young kids. And, I'm thankful every day my kids are older going through this, because I can't imagine homeschooling young kids and keeping them busy. But, we were asked to write messages on the sidewalks with sidewalk chalk so people can walk around the neighborhood and have positive messages. And that was
I
great.
love that.
And then we're, putting teddy bears in the windows. So, parents can take their little ones on teddy bear hunts and just see what kind of teddy bear. I mean, so the community comes together at times like this, especially ours. Our community here has always been, you know, one unit. It seems we take care of each other, but so I think it's good in that way that people realize that we are a community and people take care of each other here. And, you know, being forced to
I,
slow
Jen,
down.
I love that idea with the chalk and the messages. I
Isn't that
think
great?
that
It's so cute. Yeah.
that is great. Did you come up with that or somebody else?
Oh, I can't take credit for that. No, we have a community newsletter and they email it out, and they suggested it. So even, my daughter who's 23, she was out there writing messages. So it's fun because just to, watch people walk by and see, read your messages. And it gets people
I
out
love
walking.
that.
So yeah, that was really nice. And, just
That
being,
up here. I like that one. Right
yeah,
messages with chalk.
no, it's cute. No,
Great.
it's really cute.
And
Yeah.
then the teddy bear one, I think that's great. Anybody out there, are you doing things like this in your neighborhood? You got any suggestions on how to make this a more positive experience for people? Jen, the other day, at the beginning of the week, my cousin and I ran to the farmer's market, and there's not many people out, obviously. And we drove down one of the streets, and there were four neighbors, and it was so precious. They had their lounge chairs outside across the street, keeping their distance with their drinks and stuff, talking to each other that way, and
Yeah.
not just staying in the house. So it is important, get some fresh air and sunshine, and communicate.
And everybody's
So we've
helping.
got another comment here. Let's see.
Keeping the little ones busy. It's just nice to be a part of that, giving the little ones something to do, walking around, reading your messages. It's cute because knowing that those parents are struggling with little ones in the house and, that can't have play dates or birthday parties or go to school, and, to be able to help in that little way is just, it's a good thing.
Yeah, so someone here is doing homeschooling with 3 kids, and thank goodness for pool, cardboard games, movies, and family time. I find it very interesting because I grew up in a time where we did a lot of this stuff just automatically. And it's really interesting to find that, like, your generation and younger is tapping into this and learning how to have more of this family community time at home and in your neighborhoods, because you're not rushing around as much and you're becoming more aware of just, like all these simple things that you've missed out on. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to raise their awareness to this and build community, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great. It's, everybody's pulling together and helping each other. And that's, wonderful thing. And yeah, we've done that here. Like
So we briefly touched upon how
I'm really lagging here.
yeah, a little bit.
We're back.
That's okay. It comes up later. I did a guided meditation for my department. Wonderful. We did it by call and social distancing. This Friday I will do card readings, gives them something to look forward to. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for people to get to know us in a different way too, isn't it, Jen?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. You see people's kindness,
Absolutely. So I want to go back to the empaths as the highly sensitive beings out there, because we start to touch upon how they hold things in, and we want to talk about being more compassionate to ourselves. So Jen, you talked a little bit about how they hold things in or they don't ask for help. So what tips do you have for empaths? Because I know, again, that's a big part of what you talk about in your book and the things you learned, because you kind of didn't know what was going on in your life at first. Then you got introduced to this. And so what are some of the things that taught you to be kinder and more compassionate to yourself that will help our listeners?
Well, I think that goes to the self-care. I mean, self-care is priority for an empath. I mean, you can't take, on everybody's emotions and not care for yourself, and learning to say no. Like when you're at your maximum, it's okay to shut down and, turn off technology and just hide for a while. And, that's the hardest part because you don't want to say no to people as an empath, but you have to realize that sometimes you have to. You have to say no and you have to go back into yourself. So I think self-care and learning to say no, boundaries, setting those boundaries, because the more you give, the more people want. And that's okay because, you have a gift, but, you have to learn to care for yourself because you won't be available for anybody if you're not at your best self.
Absolutely. And, you talked about boundaries, and I know that people in this community have asked, well, how do I set up boundaries? Because it's not just saying no. There's other things that we can do. What would you share with the community about the way that, other than saying no, what other ways do you create boundaries for yourself to stay healthy?
Well, I think staying away from toxic people, like the energy vampires, the people that
What
just,
if you live with them?
well, you, you can, yeah, you can, um, distance yourself, go back into yourself a little bit more, stay away from the toxicity. Don't let yourself be drawn in or led into the toxic, drama or merry-go-round, as I like to call it. Um, so yeah, if that's an unfortunate situation, that if you are stuck with a person like that, you really have to pull away. And
Well,
so,
and there have been people I've even seen on social media talking about that, like they have partners and it's not a good relationship. They've not spent a lot of time with their husbands because they're all working or something. Now all of a sudden, them, the kids, and everybody are there. So it's also an opportunity for people to learn how to communicate better, I feel, and to be more aware of the stresses that each other have. Because sometimes what we think is toxic in people, it's because we're not really aware and we're not listening.
and I think that, yeah, it goes both ways, and they're not hearing
Yes.
you either. Yeah. So yeah, no, it is a communication exercise daily when you're stuck in the
Mhm.
house with somebody. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And again, I want to bring it back to the inner compassion of the highly sensitive beings, because I know there's been many that have also expressed that it is overwhelming right now.
Mhm.
They are having days where they cannot function. And I think you mentioned something too, like you had some anxiety come up or something. Was that you, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, things are closing. I think it was last week I had a really bad day. You watch the news, you get sucked into that drama, and things are closing, my work is closing, you know jobs are, you worry about people losing their jobs and how are they going to make it in small business, and all of this stuff was just hitting me, and I got completely overwhelmed and stressed out, and I just wanted to sleep. And you know I just turned everything off. I closed my eyes and I did a meditation, and I stayed off of social media, stayed away from the TV for that whole afternoon. It got too much, with all the news and everything going on. Sometimes you just have to completely unplug. And
And I find that's really important for highly sensitive beings. You've got to unplug. You got to stay away from all the distraction. And right now, with all the TV stations and everything on social media, and you don't know who to believe on some things, right? It's so much information. And then all the discord that's happening, you really do need to pull back and away from that. And Jen mentioned earlier about, going to the beach or out in nature or whatever as a grounding tool. And nature is a healer, it's an automatic healer, it clears your field.
Mhm.
And you need to be spending more time, even if it's 5 minutes out there, you need to be doing that. Because if we are stressed and we're not being compassionate to ourselves and taking care of ourselves first, and that includes the time we need, the breathing, the meditation, everything she's talked about, the healthy eating, we can't show up for others the way that they're going to need us, especially during these times. Do you agree with that, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really do.
So, does anybody have any questions out there? Any comments that you want to put? I see a lot of little things coming up. But is there a question out there you might have for Jen or myself? Or do you have a suggestion on how to be more compassionate to yourself? Right now, one of the things that, is missing for a lot of us is the hands-on touch, because a lot of us are healers and body workers. And maybe we're not always getting the massage, but even the fact of giving it, a lot of the healers have reached out to me and said, Jen, that they're missing even that connection to
Mhm.
give touch.
Yeah, with their clients and such. Yeah, absolutely. But, thank goodness for social media, and you can do, lives like this and still communicate with people, and you can see people. And that does help a lot, giving cards in the day for people or online readings, and, still being in contact with people. So social media is a blessing in that way, that you can still be in touch with your like-minded people. like we are here tonight. But yeah.
And we talked about some positive things out of this whole situation that's happening. And one of the positive things that I'm finding is not only you, Jen, but yesterday, Cassie, tomorrow, Angela, other people are coming on in the group, and you're getting to meet them and hear about them and feel their energy and learn what they do that maybe we didn't make the time to do that before. And that's another positive about it, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, this was a great impromptu get together here tonight.
Yeah. So Jen, we haven't talked much about what you do per se. My baby is beginning loud. Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about much of what you do. We've kind of put up your, that you're a Reiki master, intuitive, a medium, and a soon to be author. What kind of readings do you actually do?
I do platform mediumship where I work in a group and, we give messages of healing to the audience from members of their family or friends that have crossed over. I'm an angel card reader, which, angel cards are similar to tarot, but messages from the angels. I am a Reiki master teacher. I do sessions in my home and Reiki shares with my partner, where we bring people in and people get to experience the beautiful healing art of Reiki, and we share our space with other practitioners. I do a lot of crystal work as well. And we're really excited to learn all new things. And the author, that's new and an exciting new venture for me. So all of that. It's great.
So, if you were to just kind of tap in and tune in, do you have a message that's coming in maybe from spirit or your angel guides that you can give to our listeners?
Well, I've had, for the last 2 days, just like an overwhelming calm feeling. So I do feel like things are going to be okay, you know, um, and I've been meditating or praying on that, for the last couple of days. And I spent time in nature, taking walks the last couple of days and just asking for signs. And I do have an overwhelming feeling of calm. So I do believe that things will be okay, you know, and I don't know if that's supposed to be my message for me, but for everybody as well. Just, hang in there. Things will be okay.
I agree with you.
We worry about people and if they're going to be okay. The waitresses that depend on tips aren't making tips. I worry about all those things. The moms that lost their jobs and have to raise kids without a job, but I just have this overwhelming feeling that, everything is going to be okay and things will fall into place.
I agree with you. And the one thing that I do want to caution all of us, because we are sensitive, and like Jen is saying, she worries about certain things. You got to remember there's cycles of frequencies that take you down and take you up, and worry will take you down. It'll make you anxious. It could lead to depression and exhaustion and all those things. And so we got to, you talked about being aware, Jen. We got to be aware of our own emotions and thoughts as well, and realize we got to find a way to lift that vibration up so that we're feeling hopeful, like with the message that she just shared, that everything's going to be okay. And I have that same really deep sense of, no panic button. Yeah, I have the same sense that things are going to be fine, that this is a great awakening. That's why I thought the book,
That's exactly it. It's like a wake call. Pay attention.
Pay attention. And that's the thing, be paying attention more. Because you mentioned too all the distractions with the news and stuff. Don't get hooked into all these things. You guys are very intuitive, okay? You all, even if you don't think you're intuitive, you all have a gift, don't you think, Jen, to tap into that?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel if you
slowing down to tap into it and listening
exactly
and trusting,
and for me, I feel almost like Mother Nature and the universe and all has timed this in a way for us to have that, to be able to tap in, to be more aware, to listen to our own intuition and not to all the distractions that raise the panic and the fear. Right. Because we have amazing things happening too. Like today I went outside and the air felt so fresh and clean.
Yeah.
And then what I noticed? There's been no chemtrails all week long, and I've had absolutely no sinus issues. Anybody else recognizing things like that?
Yeah,
Tell
Mother
us down
Nature is
below.
healing. Venice, everything is clearing up. Be aware and now with Earth. Yeah. No, Mother Nature is healing. The Earth is healing through this. The pollution is dissipating. And Mother Earth is healing. Sorry, I
And
had
here's what I hope. That's okay. Here's what I hope, Jen, for us, for everybody listening, is that if these few days, weeks, whatever, made this impact on the earth already, imagine how we can keep doing this later and not going back to old patterns and lifestyles. How
Mhm.
many of you are thinking about that already, about the changes that you've made now that you can continue doing that keeps Mother Nature healthy, playing our part? And also, the other thing, Jen, I was thinking is like, the things you're doing in your neighborhood. I love that. I love that inspirational chalk thing.
That's cute, isn't it?
These things that all of you will continue, even if it's
Mhm.
periodically, just to kind of remember this is how you connected with your community.
No, I think that's a great idea. And just the joy it brings at times like this but yeah, to be able to keep that going would be amazing. And I think people should catch on. But people are doing that. Like you said, you saw people in their lounge chairs. I've seen that on Facebook where people are, a woman drug her piano out into the driveway and was playing piano, and people were just sitting at safe distances away from her. You know, you saw in Italy, there was a guy playing piano or something, or singing over balconies. People
Mm-hmm.
are doing things like that, and it's getting creative, but bringing people together as community. So it's a nice thing, and I hope it does continue.
Yeah, and I think we can do that. We just have to, like you said, be mindful, be aware, stay grounded,
Hmm.
take care of yourselves, obviously, and turn things around to the positive. This is a great opportunity for all of us. So I would love to hear, anyone that's on live or comes on later, what are some of the things that you see that are positive happening out of, this whole coronavirus? And for those of you that have friends, family, and relatives that actually contacted it, um, let's all put a heart down below or a prayer and send some Reiki, send some loving, healing energy out, because, some people are dealing with that, that have weakened immune systems and compromised health conditions. So I want to see a bunch of hearts come down here so that we can send that healing love out. Okay. Jen, do you have any other tips or insights that you want to give people, that those that are still struggling out there that we haven't touched upon? Is there any message that you feel?
Well, I just feel like, just the communication and being open and, being able to talk about it. Just don't keep your feelings when, you get in trouble when you don't speak about it. You know, um, talk about your fears and your worries, and don't be embarrassed to do so, because everybody, I had a spell last week of complete panic and fear, and it's okay. It's perfectly normal. So just keep your communication open with your friends and your family, and, check in with people that you think might be struggling too. The older people or people that can't get out, check in on them. And that makes you feel better too.
And the thing I also want to bring up that I think a lot of people don't realize, because this is what I have felt, sometimes we're checking on people that we think are older or unhealthy or whatever, but we don't always check on the ones that we think are strong and positive and could also be going through something in holding this frequency and this vibration. And
Right.
I know that I don't see that happening for myself. A lot of people think Gloria's out there helping everybody, this and that. So I want you to remember, we don't always have good days. Jen just shared too. She had her day, her meltdown. We all do. And
Right.
so check on your friends, even if you think they're the healthy ones, the positive ones, the ones lifting up the world and taking care of everybody. Go say hello. Go
Right.
pick up the phone. I mean, I'm a phone person, and today I had two wonderful people from this community actually call, and we had wonderful talks, and we got to know each other. Finally, we've been on Facebook together for so long and never really got that connection, and it was delightful. And I think more of us, if we did that, it'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Jen, I'm going to put up your email in case anybody wants to reach out to you. Is this correct? cairojen@gmail.com?
Yeah, that's it. And contact me. You can book appointments there or ask any questions on here, right, Gloria?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
we'll
if
keep
you have questions on here, post them down below, and Jen will check in periodically. I will too, and make sure that your questions are answered. But if you want to reach out to Jen personally, here's her email. So go ahead and do that, and she could, help support you too, because that's what we're all here for. And for those of you that want this opportunity to come on and have a casual talk about any topic that you feel is related to our community, well, all you have to do is reach out to me and we'll get you on here, because I think the more that we get to know each other and be able to support each other, like Jen said, some people are losing jobs and stuff. I know my business has decreased tremendously because of people losing their jobs and feeling like they don't have enough money to put out for coaching and soul purpose readings and things like that. So it's a ripple effect. So, I want to make sure that you know who our community is, that you know who to reach out, what their services are, so that we could all help each other. Okay?
that's great. Yep.
All right. So I want to thank all of you that did show up live, and give Jen some loving, give her some
For having me.
good energy out there. And she's going to have an author interview with me coming up in April. What's the date, Jen?
April 14th.
Okay. So
April
April
14th.
14th, I'm going to be interviewing her about her story as an empath, finding out she didn't know this as a child, and finding out how she tapped into all of this, and why she didn't feel like she fit in. How many of you didn't feel like you fit in until you realize that you're actually gifted? So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, having some fun with that. And then the book gets released in early May, so stay tuned for that. But I want to thank you all. And again, I would love to hear from all of you and get you on a show. Yeah, great job. That's right. I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm actually still fine tuning all the edits. We're polishing it up some more. And what's really wonderful is the messages in the stories, the additional messages that I have opened up to all the authors. Is like I told Jen and all the others, because of the timing of the release of this book, which is divinely timed, and because of the title, The Path of Awakening, A Healing Journey, I asked them all, now that they wrote their story, how about a spiritual message? How about a message from the angels or from God or your intuition? So they're going to be adding something even more into this book, because the world needs more insights and inspiration and these kind of things to keep the hope going. Don't you think, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a nice touch. I think that'll be fit perfectly with the stories that we have.
I think so too. So anyway, Jen, thank you so much for being a part of this community and the book, and for sharing insights tonight. I appreciate it.
You. Thanks for having me. And have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
Okay, take care.
Bless you all and stay healthy, okay? So if you have questions down below on how to be a guest on my lives, then please come on and do that, because I know many of you are extremely talented and gifted, and we would love to have you share your gifts and insights. Have a beautiful evening, everybody. Please stay healthy, stay well, and take care of yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Good night.